Imagine you are at a doctor's office. You are examined and then prescribed a medication for some reason or another. Do you trust your doctor's sole judgment that you need this medicine, without any other evidence? Most of you would actually say yes without a second thought. For decades, we've viewed doctors as authority figures, giving them power over us, our bodies, our lives, and never really questioning whether their diagnosis or treatments are really in our best interests. This concept of a doctor-authority complex actually creates conflict throughout the book, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks by Rebecca Skloot. The members of the Lacks families openly displayed mistrust and paranoia towards medical officials, to the point that they avoid walking by hospitals. However, at the same time, they still followed doctors' orders in terms of being pressured into signing consent forms, allowing them to take blood, doing procedures on them with no explanation, and trusting their own family members, such as Henrietta and Elise, into the hands of doctors. When Henrietta goes to Johns Hopkins for treatment, she signs a consent form, allowing for the doctors to do any tests and procedures they deem necessary, even without further consulting her. Many of the procedures they do seem completely unnecessary for cancer treatment, but Henrietta trusts that the doctors know what they are doing. Even when the doctors burn her flesh to charcoal with radiation, she continues her treatment, because she trusts the doctor's authority and believes that this method can heal her cancer. So why does he trust these authority figures in this way? There have been many studies exploring how far we will trust authority figures, but the most significant of these experiments is the Milgram experiment. The Milgram experiment was conducted by Yale University's Stanley Milgram in order to understand how far people are willing to go to obey authority figures. Researchers began investigating this subject after the Nuremberg trials of World War II, in which Nazis who carried out terrible experiments pleaded that they were just following orders. Milgram wanted to figure out why people would do such evil things solely based on the orders given by an authority figure, such as a doctor or a scientist. In order to do this, Milgram put out an advertisement in the newspaper for male participants who would like to take part in its psychological study. The ad framed the experiment as a study to help understand the human memory. But as we all know, that's simply not the case. The study looked something like this. The participant that answered the ad would be placed on one side of a room. The participant would have a fake electric shock generator in front of them that ranged from a light shock to a deadly voltage. They would read out the questions to a fake second participant who was actually an actor hired by Milgram. Each time the actor got a question wrong, a supervisor in a white lab coat would encourage the first participant to shock the actor at an ever-increasing voltage. The actor would fake scream and ask to leave the trial as the voltage increased. But the supervisor would not allow the actor to leave and demand that the participant continue to shock. Although most of the participants protested and asked to stop, hardly any participants defied the supervisor's orders. Every single participant went up to a 300-volt shock, which is marked as highly dangerous. 65% of all people went all the way up to a 450-volt lethal shock. None of the participants knew that the shocks were fake, or that the people were shocking were actors, but still, 65% of them continued to the highest voltage, believing that they were killing a person. These horrifying results show just how compliant people are when obeying authority figures, and how willing we are to trust the judgment of a professional, even if it defies our moral codes. But even in cases less extreme than the Milgram experiment, studies have shown that we trust doctors and other authority figures too much for our own good. When visiting a doctor, few patients research the doctor's qualifications or question their authority in giving diagnoses and treatments. Even when receiving major surgeries, most patients will never even look up their surgeon or the procedure being performed, simply trusting the doctors to make the right decisions for them. This implicit trust of those who we see as authority figures or professionals stem from the way humans have evolved and how we are raised in society. Humans, as social creatures, have evolved to survive best in a group, relying on other members for survival. These groups, even from as prehistoric times, have always had a hierarchical structure, with some individuals having authority over others. Humans evolved to obey authority because defying superiors could lead to punishment or banishment. If a person was expelled from a group, they are far less likely to survive. Even in this modern era, obeying authority is highly emphasized in the way we were raised from a young age. Young children are taught how to behave and obey their parents. At school, we are taught to stay at our desk, stay quiet, listen to a teacher, and do all of our work. Everything we learn is fed to us by an authority figure, and we trust it all as fact. When was the last time you questioned your math teacher when you thought that they were given the wrong formula? Or when was the last time you questioned a police officer giving you a ticket for a reason you felt unjust? The next time you are obeying an authority figure, remember that you still have control over your mind and actions. For example, doctors are just people with opinions. They might have gone to school for a decade in medicine, and they may be very knowledgeable. However, you have been with your body your whole life, and thus only you ultimately make the decision of what feels right or wrong.